All right. I typically do not work with a microphone, so I'm a little. This is hi. How you doing? All right. So, like Patricia said, my name is Dave Mondarine. I'm with Get Safe, and I know we're supposed to. I'm allowed to speak until 11:30 tonight. Is that right? No. No. So we're gonna go to about 8:15 for what I'm gonna do, and then I'll stop, and then we'll do a little question and answer if you have any questions. Before I forget, because I'm really bad at this, I have my business cards up here. So any parents, caregivers, or clients you want more information, I have emergency contact cards here, and you can fill these out with your to give to your client of regional center. So they can fill this out and advocate for themselves if they ever are stopped by law enforcement or firefighters, how they can say, hey, I'm a person with autism, I need a little extra help. It's a very cool way. And also contact for mom, dad, or caregiver. And then our back off bracelets, yo, everybody get one. You know you want one. And then I got one. It's just stuck in my jacket. And then I have a flyer. It's a double face guy. This one's going to go, what we're going to talk on today, because this is a short time period that I'm able to present, and I'm very grateful for this time period, by the way. But we have a short, what we call like one and done, like 90 to 120 minute group trainings for healthy relationships and sex ed training. And then we also do a 22 unit deep dive. It's multi-week. Depending on the cognitive ability of the group, we can go 8 weeks, we can go 12 weeks, we can go 20 weeks if we need to. And we really unpack human sexuality. We unpack doctor visits. We unpack relationship building, how to recognize abusive yellow and red flag behaviors, all of that stuff. So that's information you'll find here, as well as the other programs that we're vendored with various regional centers up and down California to do, which is functional legal competency training for people with developmental disabilities who have been accused of a crime and may need to be restored to competency. And we do training for that. We also do GSCAT, which is the Get Safe Consumer Advocacy Team. So if there is a client of Regional Center who is accused of a crime or is a victim of a crime, we will go to court and help advocate for them in the court system. We're not lawyers. I'm not that smart. But we do go just make sure that the client's voice is being heard, that they're being heard in the courtroom. So it's all of that. And then risk mitigation services. And like Patricia said, we work extensively, and that's how I got my start. I'm a second-degree black belt in a form of martial arts. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Krav Maga. I do all kinds of different martial arts. But I'm a little guy, so my favorite self-defense is the Nike defense, which is to run and get a cop or a police officer or a sheriff's deputy so they can handle business, so he or she can regulate. But we also work with survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, human trafficking. We do a lot of work with bullying prevention and response from kindergarten all the way up to high school, college, and we do workplace violence and active shooter training. Now, I'm not going to go on a laundry list on that because you're not here for that. All right. You can read about it. All right. So today, I got a couple rules. We're going to talk about healthy relationships, and we're going to dip into a little bit about healthy sexual expression, too. So my first rule is we have to respect each other. So if somebody asks a question in the middle of the class, can I count on everybody to be supportive and not go, you don't know that? Can I count on you? All right, good. The second, I know, but I got to say it. The second thing also is we got to give good information. In other words, if somebody, like when I was in high school, I went to La Mirada High School, not too far from here, and I remember being a sophomore, and I was having a ham sandwich during lunch, and I remember buddy number one was talking to buddy number two. Buddy number one said to buddy number two, hey, the first time you have sex with a girl, you can't get her pregnant. And I remember sitting there with my ham sandwich going, that don't sound right. That's not what I learned in health class. That's not what I learned in biology. And then my friend had a baby at 17, right? And so I tell people when I go to adult transition programs, who, you know, because they're usually anywhere from 18 to 22, I said, imagine if you're about 20 years old, you have a 3-year-old that you have to take care of. That's a lot of responsibility. So you need to be safe. You need to be appropriate. And we're going to talk about this. And I'm going to give you the greatest hits today before I stop and take question and answer. Okay, and my last rule is, if we talk about body parts, if we talk about, you know, sexual practices or whatever, and this is for the clients here, if you get the giggles, that's okay. If you need to step out and come back, that's okay. I totally understand. I'm on board. Some of what we're going to talk about might make you feel a little nervous. If you need to step out, step out. But come on, help me out. Come. There we go. Thank you. This is not just me talking. We're going to need to participate. All right. So let me ask everybody, parents, caregivers, and clients. Do we have a right to have relationships? Absolutely. I like that. Emphatic. Absolutely. We have a right to have relationships. Do we have a right to have sexual relationships? Yes. Yes, we do. Now, when I worked with East LA Regional Center, one of the service coordinators and program managers was like, well, what about conservatorship and what about, that's a valid question. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and like I said, I'm not that smart, but out of the, 7 conservatorship areas, judges are loath to take away relationships when it comes to that. They'll do fiduciary stuff, and they'll do, housing and things like that. But when it comes to relationships, they're loath to do that because that is one of the most basic aspects of human beings is to have relationships. Whether it's a friendship, whether it's dating, whether it's a long-term thing with a steady Eddie, whether it's a marriage, whether it's just you're living together and you're making a life together, it doesn't matter. We have these rights. And sometimes with those rights, friends, we also have responsibilities. So before I get into the responsibility part, let's talk about relationships. Help me out. What are the different types of relationships we know in our lives? Help me out. Shout them out. Family. Like what? Give me an example, friend.
Dad,
Mom and dad. What else? Cousins. Siblings. What else? Friends. Okay, good. We got, okay. Coworkers. So friends, what I'm talking about right now, and I'm using the term friends for a reason. What I'm talking about is if you think about yourself, so clients, how many clients of Regional Center are in the room right now? If you feel comfortable, raise your hand if you're a client of the Regional Center. All right. If you're a caregiver, raise your hand. And that includes parents. If you're a service coordinator, okay. Any community leaders or program managers? Okay, good. So when I talk to men and women with developmental disabilities, and I say, okay, picture yourself in the middle of a target. You have the bullseye, and then you got rings on the outside. You are in the inside of that ring. That is you. You're in the very center. The people that you allow to get closest to you in that first ring, who do you think that would be? The guy at the bus stop? No. Who would that be? Family members. Mom, dad, sister, brother, cousins, aunts and uncles, grandma, grandpa, Nino, Nina, those types of people. Okay? What about the next ring out? So you are in the middle, family, and the next ring out. What do we got? Friends. Not just any friends. Friends we can trust. Okay? Just because somebody knows your name, just because you see the same person at the bus stop every day, is that a friend that you can trust? No. We might know the checker at the market. He or she, we might see them every time we go buy groceries. But is that somebody we go home with? No. Is that somebody we invite to our house? No. We might know Nancy, the checker. We might know Juan, the produce dude. We might know these people. But are they friends that we can trust? No, because they are in the next ring, which is acquaintances. People we see a little bit and people we only know a little bit. Now, here's a trick question. What about the next ring out? Or actually, it's not even the next ring. It's just everybody else. If you're not an acquaintance, if you're not a friend you can trust, if you're not a family member, what would you be considered? Strangers. Now, for everybody in this room, please understand, we never teach stranger danger in our classes. And the reason why is because it's kind of a flawed theory. Most sexual assault, most financial abuse, most neglect, the victim is known to the perpetrator. So it's not some dude in the bushes with the trench coat and the socks. Although that happens, it's rare. 85 to 95%, depending on which statistics you read, the victim is known to the perpetrator. Somebody has gained their trust. So for the clients of Regional Center who are here in this room, what if somebody breaks your trust? What can you do? So I'm asking clients of Regional Center, what could you do? Can anybody give me an example? Somebody breaks your trust. First of all, is there raise your hand if you're a client again, please, if you feel comfortable. Raise your hand if you're a client of Regional Center. What's your name, friend? Natalie. Okay, Natalie. Let's pretend you and I are pals. Okay, let's just pretend. I know you never met me before, but we're going to pretend. Okay, so you and I are pals, and let's say we're having coffee at your house, and we're just relaxing and talking and shooting the breeze. And I say, hey, Natalie, I need to use your restroom. But instead of using your restroom, which is over here, I go into your bedroom, and I start looking through your personal stuff. Yeah, what's that guy doing? What are you doing? Now, first of all, let me ask everybody here. Did I just break her trust? Yes. Should you let me come back in your house again? But even if we like knew each other since we were kids, like little dudes, right? Should you let me back in your house again? Because I've broken your what? I've broken your trust. Now, Can you talk to like your best friend about, hey, Dave came over and kind of broke my trust and I don't know what to do about it? Can you talk to a caregiver or a best friend about the situation? Do we know about self-advocacy? Do we talk a lot about that? Oh, I know we do. Okay, a rhetorical question. Self-advocacy is a way when we know our rights, because if you don't know your rights, friends, you don't have any rights. So if somebody breaks your trust, you talk, Natalie, to somebody that you trust about it. I'm going to talk to my mom, my dad, my caregiver. I'm going to talk to somebody I know who can help me. That's a good thing. Okay? Even if I say, but I'm super, super sorry. I didn't mean to go in your room and take your stuff and break your trust. Please forgive me. Do you have to forgive me? No. It is your choice to forgive me, but you don't have to. Even if I try to guilt you, even if I try to find some way to leverage my way into your life again, you don't have to do that again, okay? Because we're going to talk about this there's a reason why. So I'll get into that. So remember that in a second, okay? Can people move in and out of the rings? Can people move from being a stranger to being an acquaintance to being a friend that you could trust and maybe even a family member? Can people do that? Yeah. You know, when I first met my wife, we were total strangers. Total, complete strangers. I was a senior. She was a freshman. We did a play together. And then 23 years later, we reconnected, and now we're married. Yay. But when we first met each other, we were total strangers. We didn't know each other. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. Her family didn't know my family. We didn't know each other. So we did a play together, and we were in rehearsals and blah, 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 and we got to know each other. We got to be acquaintances. But she was, she was a little freshman, and I was a senior. Oh, my God. But here's the thing about this. We stayed in contact on and off. Like, she had relationships. I had relationships. She got married and had a kid. I was doing my own thing. And then eventually her marriage kind of didn't work out. And then my relationships didn't work out. And we fell back in love because of Facebook. But we need to be safe with Facebook. We need to be appropriate with Facebook and social media. But we got back in contact and we became friends again. And then we worked into becoming family. Does that happen for everybody? Now, what I mean by that is, does that happen? Can just because you know somebody, does that mean you're going to marry that person? Okay, so we have to understand what the differences are. But here's another thing also. Can people move out of the circles? Could we just talk about how people can move in? But if somebody breaks your trust, like we talked about, do you have to keep me in this circle where it's friends you can trust, or can you bump me all the way out to being a stranger? Yeah. You can bump me all the way out to being a stranger because I've broken your trust and I've done something inappropriate. Now, what about boundaries? What about our personal boundaries? Can people just get really up close to us without our permission? No. No. I'll give you an example. So, what is your name, friend? Sohan? Okay, Sohan, let's pretend you and I are friends, and we work together, and I come up to Sohan, and I'm all, hey, Sohan, so good to see you. High five. Are you going to want to, oh, my gosh. Is she going to want to high five me, guys? No. Now, if we're friends, what can you go ask me to go do? Okay, now watch. She says, hey, Dave, go wash your hands because you're kind of gross. So what if I go wash my hands, and I turn on the water. Whoops, that's going to feed back. I turn on the water, and I wash my hands, a little soap, what? Turn off the water, dry my hands, and then I put a little hand sanitizer in it, or as my kid used to call it, hanitizer, and I go squeaky, squeaky. Now I got hanitizer. Now my hands are clean, and my hands are sanitized. I go back to Sohan to high five her. Does she have to high five me? No. Even if I did all of that, you do not have to high five me. It is your choice. It is your boundary. It is your body. Nobody is allowed to touch your body without your permission. Period. End of story. Full stop. Nobody is allowed to touch your body without your permission. And by the way, permission is the first of 4 P's. So for those of us who are taking notes, we're going to talk about the 4 P's of healthy sexual expression and relationship building. Some of what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes might make us a little uncomfortable, but it's important. The reason why I like talking about it, even though it makes people uncomfortable, is there's a myth out there that somebody with a disability doesn't have sexual urges. Is that true? Obviously, I just tipped my hand. It's a myth. But people with developmental disabilities, physical disabilities, they still might want to have relationships or be sexual with somebody or get married or even have families. That is something they can do. But what we always tell people is Plan it. Don't let it be a surprise. Okay? Having an unintended pregnancy or having an STD because you didn't plan your sexual encounter can wreck your life. And we need to make appropriate choices with this. Super, super important. So the first P, we're going to talk about the 4 Ps of healthy sexual expression. The first one is what? What did I just tell you? Is permission. Permission. You're not allowed to touch somebody without their permission. What if somebody gives you permission to hug them today? Does that mean you have permission to hug them tomorrow? No. No. What if you've been dating somebody or maybe even you're married with somebody? Does that mean you automatically get to hug them or kiss them or be sexual with them? No. You still need your spouse's permission to hug them. You can read their body language. You can read the way their facial affect is going. And if somebody if you try to hug them and they're giving you one of those body language movements, you got to pay attention to that. And sometimes some of us, if we're a person with autism, it's kind of hard to understand those social cues. We get that. We understand that. So we want to encourage our friends with autism to pay attention as much as possible and ask appropriate people about what you see. So if you go to high five your friend at school and your friend doesn't want to give you a high five, can you talk to your mom or dad about what happened at school? What do you think? Yeah. Can you talk to your teacher if you're part of an adult transition program? Can you talk to your teacher about, hey, I tried to give Dave a high five, but he didn't want to give me a high five. Can you talk to that person, to your teacher about it? Yeah. And maybe your teacher or your parent or your caregiver can guide you into understanding a little more. It's all a process, and we're all in this together, all of us, whether we're a person with autism or not. We're all in this together. For those of you who are YouTube savvy, there's a fabulous video. Now, there's 2 versions. There's one that's loaded with expletives, and there's one that's not. Okay? But the video is, if you put into the YouTube search bar tea, like the drink, TEA, and consent, it'll pop up. There are 2 versions. There's an American version that is loaded with F-bombs. It's really funny but totally inappropriate. And then there's one that's a UK version, and that one's doesn't have expletives in it. And I always tell adult transition teachers, this is something that whether you have persons with autism or persons with other developmental disabilities, is a great way to show what consent means. So parents and caregivers, check it out. YouTube, it's called Tea and Consent. And remember, if you click the wrong one, you might get an F-bomb right in your ears, so just be careful. Yes. No, TEA, like the drink. Sorry. Yeah, tea like the drink and consent. Don't play it now. Okay, now. So consent, when we talk about consent, we're talking about affirmative consent. Does anybody ever heard that? Because we're talking about permission. So consent is part of permission. Affirmative consent means in the state of California, you have to check in with the person you're kissing, you're hugging, you're being sexual with to make sure they're still in it. They're still like, yes, I want this. Because at any time, can we take away our permission? What if we're in the middle of a kiss? Can we say, you know what, I'm not comfortable, I need to wait? Can you do that? Yes. What if I'm a male and I do that with a female and I say, you know what, I'm so sorry, I just need to wait, I'm a little uncomfortable. Can you take away your permission even if you're a man? Yes. Even if I'm a man, I'm dating other men, can I do that? Yes. If I'm a female and I'm dating other females, can I do that? Yes. Your body is your own. That means you can't touch other people without their permission, and other people cannot touch you without your permission. And if you're confused about it, check with a parent, a caregiver, or teacher, a police officer. Talk to somebody that you can trust. Okay, the second P in the 4 Ps is a partner over the age of 18. What I mean by that is if you're dating somebody and you think you're going to be sexual, that person and you both have to be over the age of 18. Period. End of story. Can a person who is 17 be sexual with somebody else who's 17? Not really. That is still actionable. In other words, you could go to jail or go to court for that. That's statutory rape. Okay? You have to be over the age of 18. What if I'm 22, which I'm not? What if I'm 22 and I'm dating somebody who's 17, but they turn 18 tomorrow? Can we be sexual today? No. No early birthday presents. Are we picking up what I'm putting down here? All right. So you have to have a partner who's over the age of 18. Now well, we'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. I apologize. The third P is privacy. And when I talk about privacy, I'm talking about, and get ready, take a deep breath, everybody. I'm talking about masturbation, and I'm talking about sexual expression. Now, for those of us who might not fully understand, masturbation is when a man will touch his own penis for pleasure because it feels good. But is that something he does at the back of the bus? No. Is that a private place? No. That's not something he does at the back of the movie theater. No. For females, masturbation is when a female will touch her vagina because it feels good. Is that something she does in the middle of class? No. Is that something she does at Starbucks? No. So, check out. What I'm talking about here, when I talk about privacy, I'm talking about a place where people cannot see you, where people cannot hear you, and where people cannot accidentally walk in on you. So one more time. Private places where people cannot, and people cannot walk in on you. One of the clients, who can tell me what a private place is? Give me an example of a private place. A client. Yes, sir, in the back. A bedroom. Now, what's your name, friend? Jose, nice to meet you. I'm Dave. Hey, so Jose, what if we're in the bedroom with the door locked and shut and locked and the blinds down, and little brother and little sister aren't in there and you're by yourself? Is that a place where a person could masturbate? Yes. You have to clean up after yourself. You have to be appropriate. Very, very important. But is that a place where, well, let me give you an example. What about Disneyland? Is that a public place or a private place? Public place, right? Now, quick story. When my son was about 8 or 9, my wife and my son went to Disneyland before they raised the prices and now we can't go. Now, that's a whole other thing. We're in line for Pirates of the Caribbean, one of my favorite rides in the whole wide world. Ever since I was a little dude, man, that just got my imagination. I love that ride. So you guys know how that line is just like stupid long, but it moves pretty quickly. So I'm standing in line. The line's moving this direction. I'm standing here. My son, who was about 8 or 9 at the time, standing here, and my wife was standing here. So who's standing here? Wife. Who's standing here? And who's standing here? Okay. We're talking. Blah, 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 yakety smackety. And behind me, 2 people about 20 years old were doing this. Doing deep, sexy kisses, hands going all over the body, right? And my son was doing this. Right? And as he starts pulling on my sleeve, he's like, Dad, 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 Dad. And I'm like, dude, what? And he's trying to be slick about it. He's all, look over there. Look over there. I kid you not. Because they were like swallowing each other's skulls in the middle of this line at Disneyland, and I was really uncomfortable. So I gently gave them some space, but I tapped them on the shoulder. And I said, hey guys, how you doing? I know you two are in love, and that's awesome. Hooray for you. But can you maybe not do softcore pornography in the middle of the Disneyland ride? And they're like, oh, my God, we're young and in love, and you're old and stupid. You don't know what it's like. Oh, my God. 2 seconds later, they went back, deep kisses and hands going all over the place. Disneyland security roll. Boop, boop. You're out of there. That's $110 a ticket times 2. And it was 11 o'clock in the morning. Bye-bye. They lost their admission to Disneyland because they made an inappropriate choice. Okay? Now, I'm going to make it a little more serious. Okay? So parents and caregivers. There's a gentleman who, when I worked with him, he was about 55 years old. He was a client of Regional Center in Orange County. And he was very independent. He drove for a long time. He had his own car, own license, had his own job. He was extremely independent, lived in a group home for like 25 years. Well, his parents were getting a little older, so he thought, I'm going to move back in with mom and dad and help them out. Okay. Now, in his group home, he was able to have relationships, so he had a girlfriend for many, many years. They would arrange for his roommate to go spend time with his mom and dad, and the room would be theirs, and he would be able to have sexual relations with his girlfriend. And they would be appropriate because the door was what? Shut. And was his roommate sleeping in the next bed? No. Okay. So that was okay. Masturbation was okay as long as he was in the bathroom with the door shut and locked and there wasn't like 40 people waiting for the bathroom. Okay. So when he moved back in with mom and dad, his mom and dad were obviously a little older and they came from the old country. And so when he spent a little too much time in the bathroom when he moved back in with mom and dad, mom, what are you doing in there? What are you doing in there? We don't do that in this house. That's disgusting. We don't do that in this house. So this gentleman with autism, his takeaway from that was in this house. Can you see where I'm going with this? So he went across the street to a park, went to a public restroom, tried to masturbate there, and there was a vice sweep through the park, and he was taken to jail. He spent a lot of time in jail, and he was going back and forth to court for something that he didn't mean to do, but there was shame attached to it. Yes. Yes. That's a good question. What's your name, friend? Haripsame? Haripsame. Okay, great question. Is being a person with a disability a get-out-of-jail-free card? No. If you make a bad choice, you can go to jail. You can go to court. If the officer, a mitigating circumstance was and this doesn't make it right or wrong, this just is, there was a little girl's softball game over here and a little girl's soccer game over here. So the police didn't know what was going on. They just thought there was a creepy dude doing something inappropriate in the bathroom. So when I worked with his mom and dad, I had to try to change taboo and superstition and shame, which is something I know that a lot of us have to combat. Taboo is a great way to get people to pay attention to the rules and follow the rules, but it doesn't last long because it's not a genuine reason to make change. What I mean by that is think about the myths and superstitions surrounding masturbation when we're kids. You know, your vision will go bad. You'll grow hair on your palms. You'll stunt your growth, or everybody will know that you masturbate. Everybody masturbates. Period. End of story. Anybody who says differently, that's suspect. But the problem is, when it comes to shame and taboo, we have to combat it with facts and appropriate choices. That's how you mitigate interaction with the court. That's how you mitigate interaction with law enforcement. And we're big supporters of law enforcement. And by the way, we do post-training, peace officer standards training for police officers up and down the state of California to help them better interact with people with developmental disabilities, mental illness, and substance abuse issues. So we train the law officer trainers. So it's a train the trainer program to help them understand how to deal and recognize people with developmental disabilities or mental illness a little better. So that was a great question, by the way. Those are two different things, though. Those are two different things. Not understanding the difference between right and wrong. Well, this guy did, but unfortunately, what happened was the overriding thing of what his mom said kind of shamed him into making a bad choice. So I had to help mom and dad realize that, no, he's a sexual being. We're all sexual beings. After puberty hits, right, we start liking people. We start like, oh, I'm attracted to him, or I'm attracted to her, or oh my gosh. But that doesn't mean we can touch them or without their permission or do this. Like, hey, mama, what's up, baby? You got some fries with that shake? Street harassment. We always talk to people. That is not acceptable behavior. Even if your friends are doing that. You say to your, hey, man, that ain't cool. Because that's, would you want somebody doing that to your mom or your grandma or your aunt or your cousin? No. Then don't do it to somebody else. And that's a whole other bit. Because people know the difference, but they choose to make different choices. Now, this gentleman did. But he understands now, and he hasn't been in breach of the law since I worked with him 8 years ago. So he's doing fine now. And mom and dad, when I worked with them, they fully understood, and I got them on board. Or we, Get Safe, got them on board, which is really cool. I want to keep moving because I don't want to take advantage of, I don't want to be one of those long-winded guys. Also, the last P, because we got permission, person over the age of 18, and the third P is privacy. Oh, before I forget, are there places that are part public and part private? Give me an example.
Well, I was thinking when you were talking about the bedroom with the door closed
Hmm.
and the blinds closed, like if it was open, the blinds are open, it becomes somewhat public.
Okay, I like that. So if I'm a person with a disability and I want to buy a new pair of pants and I go to Target or I go to J.C. Penney's or wherever, do I just change in the middle of the floor, the pants area, or do I have to go someplace? Dressing room, changing room, right? Is that a place where I can change my clothes? Is that a place where I can be sexual or masturbate? No, not appropriate because people can still hear. And by the way, people can still, hey, what's going on in there? People can still see. And if those locks aren't working, people can walk in on you. So you might have an illusion of privacy, but that's not truly private. Dodger Stadium, you go watch the Dodgers play a little baseball. You see an attractive person. Can you go to the restroom at Dodger Stadium and masturbate? No. If somebody really wants to, you know what I'm talking about, that little crease between the panels, somebody can see you. People can definitely hear you. And if that lock ain't working, somebody can what? Walk in on you, and that ain't good. So those are part public, part private places. Those are places where we can do certain things, right? We can use the restroom. We can change our clothes, but we cannot be sexual in those places. Years ago, I remember I do, voiceovers and stuff on the side, just on the side, and I'm not famous, so don't Google me because you won't find me. But I was taking an acting class once off of Franklin in Vermont, and we were out having some coffee. It was about this time of night, and there was a Nissan Pathfinder over there, an SUV, and it was going, and you can guess what was happening. And so my friends and I were standing out there with a cup of coffee, and we're like, is this actually happening right now? These two people thought they had a place that gave them what? Privacy. It was not private. Everybody in that parking lot saw that car going, and it was awkward because one person got out of that car and walked away, and the other person waited a few minutes and then just drove away. It was really weird. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. But to follow up on your point, there was a young man who was in Orange County Regional Center System. He's about 24 years old, has his own apartment, lives by himself, very independent man. He used to get ready for work in the morning, and he would get ready for work naked. He used to walk around naked. Now, can he do that in his own house by himself? Heck yeah, absolutely. It's his house. Problem was, yes, you're absolutely right. He left his blinds open. So little boys and girls that were going to school, they see a naked dude right in their window. And he almost lost his housing. Because he has housing, and he has to pay a portion of it. He almost lost his housing and almost got kicked out of his apartment that he fought really hard to get. So if we make bad choices or inappropriate choices, we can go to jail, we can go to court, we can lose our housing, we can lose all kinds of stuff. So we need to make good choices. If ever we're confused, check with the teacher, check with the parent, check with a caregiver, somebody that we trust. The guy at the bus stop? No. The lady at Starbucks? No, those aren't healthy people to trust when it comes to our relationships. Mom, dad, caregiver, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, teacher. Okay. Now the final piece, yes, sir.
Doesn't the law say, though, you can do that in your own home as long as you don't leave the front door?
Okay, and what is your name, sir?
I'm Frank.
Frank, nice to meet you. So Frank, we can't, if we're naked or being sexual and the window is open and people can see in, that is no longer a private situation. That is now where anybody can what?
But I thought the law said, because I mean, you take notice on it.
Yeah.
I thought the law said that as long as you didn't walk, well, really leave the threshold of their house, cross the front door, it was totally legal.
I'll tell you this much, Mr. Frank. If somebody is in their house and they're naked in the front window, they're gonna get a knock on the door from the police. It's going to happen. Because it's an inappropriate expression of who we are. Okay, so we need to be, remember, in a place where nobody can see us, nobody can hear us, and nobody can accidentally walk in on us. That is privacy. And that's a hotel room. So if I'm a person with a disability and I can't be sexual in my group home because they don't allow that there. And by the way, we've also advocated for people, if the group home says, well, we don't allow that here, we say, okay, well, this person might need a different placement. Because having relationships is a very vital part of who we are. So if you don't allow masturbation, or you say you don't allow masturbation, or you say you don't allow sexual activity, then that person, we'll push for that person to get moved to a house that's a little more progressive thinking. because that's a big part of who we are as human beings. Oh, sorry. And then the final P is protection. And when I talk about protection, am I talking about using a baseball bat? No. I'm talking about using birth control, something to keep us from having an unintended pregnancy or having an STD. Now, we don't have time to get into it right now, but the best way and I'm talking about heteronormative sex, but if I'm a gentleman and I'm dating another man, I need to use this protection too. If I'm a lady and I'm being sexual with another lady with her permission, and we're both over the age of 18 and we both have privacy, those concerns are a little different, but we still need to be safe and make good choices. But when I talk about sex, I'm talking about male and male or male and female for right now. Okay, that doesn't mean that female and female sex, that's not what I'm talking about right now for just this moment, because I'm talking about using a condom. A condom properly used protects. If you use it properly every single time, it's got a ridiculous rate of success. Now, it's not foolproof. Condoms can still break. Condoms can still have issues with them. But if you use it properly every single time, your chances of contracting an STD or an unintended pregnancy go way down. Now, where can we buy condoms? Or where can we get them? Where? Everywhere. Well, everywhere. Grocery store, where else? Pharmacy, CVS, right? Walgreens. You can go to Costco and get the 55-gallon drum of condoms, right? Stay away from like Big Lots, Dollar Tree, and 99-cent store. And that's no disrespect to their stores or anything like that. I hope you understand. If I need a colander, I'll go to Big Lots. If I need a spatula, I'll hit the 99-cent store. But certain things, I'm probably not going to do it. I'd rather get a condom or condoms, plural, from 7-Eleven than like Joe's liquor store, right? Because that's a more reputable place. We want accountability. So Walgreens, awesome. CVS, amazing. Ralph's, awesome. Target, you betcha. Okay. You can go to your doctor and he or she will give you condoms. Give them to you. You can go to your clinic, say, hi, can I have a brown bag? And they will give you a sack of condoms. Here you go. Have fun. Use them properly. Okay. What's printed on the side of the condom to help us understand that it's still good to use? Expiration date. We don't drink milk that's expired, do we? No, that makes us sick. I can eat sushi every single day of my life and die a happy man. But do I eat old sushi? No, I could die. Okay? I don't want to use that. If we use a condom that is broken, if we use a condom that is expired, if we use a condom that we didn't take good care of, we could contract an STD. And some STDs are incurable. Some STDs are curable. Some STDs are fatal, and some STDs are not fatal. The idea is protect yourself. And so parents and caregivers and clients, please understand, when we talk about using a condom and demonstrating a condom, we don't use a banana or a cucumber. Because if I'm a person, that's my alarm to let me know I'm supposed to stop. So I'm gonna wrap this up in a second. Shh, be quiet. Some of our friends with autism might be extremely literal. And we've had reports of people with autism who put a condom on a banana, put the banana with the condom on the nightstand, and have unprotected sex. Because they're following what they were told to do. So we use a penis model, right? We have an actual penis model that looks like a penis, and then we put a condom on it, and we show how to put it on, how to take it out, how to make sure it goes all the way down, what to do after the ejaculation, how to care for yourself, how to wash up afterwards. We cover things like hygiene, post-sex, pre-sex, all that stuff, doctor visits, you name it. Do we use a condom just once? So if we're sexual with our boyfriend or a girlfriend and we want to be sexual later in the night, do we still need to use a condom? Absolutely. Every single time. Now, if I'm a person with autism and I want to have a family one day, is it a good idea to talk to my doctor about it? Yeah. Is it a good idea to talk to my mom or my dad or my caregivers about it? Yes. Because if you want to have a family, plan it. You heard me say that earlier. Plan it. Talk to people in your life that you trust and get good information so that you can have the family. It's a struggle. Everybody who's a parent knows it's a struggle. But you can, whoa, what's that? Oh my God. What's happening right now? I was about to make the jump to light speed. Okay. All right. So, real quick. So, we just talked about the four, and I just painted in real broad strokes. We talked about permission, a partner over the age of 18, privacy, and protection. Now, real briefly, I want to talk about who do we ask for dates? So if I'm a person with autism, do I ask everybody in my group home to date me? Is it okay for me to text the person I'm interested in, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Why won't you call me? Hey, why won't you answer me? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Can I just keep needling people like that? Is that a good way to have a healthy relationship? No. No. So we have to learn what are safe protocols for texting, for using the internet, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, you name it. We have to be appropriate with those things. We might have heard, oh, well, so-and-so met his husband on Snapchat, or so-and-so met her boyfriend on Instagram. We got to be really careful with that. Quick story, and then I'm going to end. Man, that went fast. All right, so gentleman with autism who is in South Orange County, and he lived with his mom and dad. Very open-minded parents, very nice, very caring, compassionate people. He got a random Facebook request from a female, and I'm going to tell you right now, he showed me a picture of this woman, Santa Maria. She was the most beautiful woman I think I've ever seen in my life. Just ridiculously gorgeous. Now, he got a random message from her. Hey, you look really cute. Why don't you be my boyfriend? Now, does he know this person in real life? No, he's never met her before in his life. Is that the beginning of a healthy relationship? No. That can only go sideways. Now, remember I told you his parents were really cool? Should he talk to his mom and dad about it or hide it and be ashamed? Talk to mom and dad. He didn't. So this woman kept talking to him and messaging him on Facebook. Hey, I see you like Disneyland. And by the way, and this is the second time I don't work for Disney. But he had a Disneyland shirt. He had Mickey ears on his Facebook profile. And you guys know when you walk into Disneyland, they got that Mickey Mouse head in the flowers or whatever. Okay, so he's standing right there. Mickey ears, Disneyland shirt, Mickey in the back. So this woman had a way to talk to him. Hey, I understand you like Disneyland. How about I be your girlfriend and we go to Disneyland together? Weeks and weeks and weeks of these messages came. And this guy honestly thought he was making a connection. But we all know that's not a healthy connection because he didn't know her in real life. So finally, she asked him, hey, why don't you send me your bank account information? It took about 6 weeks. Give me your bank account information, and I'll put $50,000 in your bank account. And then I'll come to the United States, and we'll get married and have a family. And I see from the looks on your faces, you're like, oh, man. So he did. He gave her his bank account information. He had about $2,800 that he saved up. Gone. Bye-bye. And there's nothing the Orange County Sheriff's Department or Interpol or anybody could do about it. Do you know why? He gave it to her. He gave it to her. Remember how I said she was the most beautiful woman I think I've ever seen? It was Tyra Banks. Do you guys know who Tyra Banks is? She's like ridiculously beautiful. So some sweaty dude in some basement somewhere else on the other side of the world took a picture of Tyra Banks, made a fake profile with a fake name. What's that? Yeah, it's catfishing. Yes. So, is that the beginning of a healthy relationship? No. Is that the end of a healthy relationship? No. Because that is just a twisted version of what a relationship is because this person used him. So, look at me, clients. If you're a client of Lanterman Regional Center or a person with a disability, please look at me. If you ever have any questions about your relationships, if you have any questions about somebody who you see on the bus and they say, hey, I'll give you $50 if you let me touch you. Hey, I'll give you $100 if I can watch you touch yourself. Is that a proper relationship? Is that just because they pay you and you get some money, is that your boyfriend or your girlfriend? No. No, 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 no. That is not appropriate behavior, and that's not a good relationship. So I want you to remember, talk to people in your life that you trust about these relationships that you build in the community. How many of us parents have seen or caregivers have seen our child with a disability talking to somebody and say, oh, who is that? Oh, that's my friend. What's his name? I don't know. Well, how do you know him? Well, I see him at the bus stop, or I see him at the Starbucks every day. What's his name? I don't know. It's not your friend. That's somebody that you might know, but you only know them a little bit. And you remember the targets? It's you in the middle, family, friends we can trust, and acquaintances. That dude is an acquaintance, period. He might be nice, you might like him, but he's not your friend. When I was, I'm originally from Pittsburgh, so I was born and raised there, and I moved here when I was about third grade. And I'm all about Pittsburgh. It's my favorite city, right? I love where I live now. It's great. Santana is a great city, but my heart's in Pittsburgh. Now, anytime my son sees somebody with a Pirates jersey, a Penguins jersey, a Steel jersey, when he was little, he'd be like, hey, my dad's from Pittsburgh. You guys must be friends. You guys. And I'm like, dude, we don't know everybody. Not all of us know each other, okay? I'm 45 years old. I still read comic books. I still watch anime, and I still play video games. So my 12-year-old and I have a lot in common. So if I'm a person with autism and I see somebody with a Full Metal Alchemist t-shirt, which is an anime, does that mean that person is my friend? No. Is that my boyfriend or my girlfriend because they have a Pittsburgh Steelers jersey? No. Give your trust out slowly. Don't give your trust out because somebody's cute, because somebody's nice, or somebody's funny. Give your trust out slowly. That's the first key, guys, to a healthy relationship, whether it's a friend or an acquaintance or somebody you want to date. Give your trust out slowly. And remember, if somebody breaks your trust, do you have to trust them again? You do not. Okay, I'm gonna keep talking, so I'm gonna shut my mouth right now, and I'm gonna waste your guys' time, and I don't want to do that, but I want to be respectful of your time. But I want to open it up for any questions for the next little bit here.